We started phase 1 of OTAs.
They're taking this seriously this year, Mike, because last year sucked so bad. We're going to get a head start. We're in our own building, in our own house. We're all going to be here.
Andy come out today, though, and I thought he said a few things that was very telling. He sounded very energized, I think, but he kept it realistic. He said, listen. He's got to start it off with listen. That's how he does it.
Listen.
Because listen, nobody wants that shit. Fans, organization, coaches, or players, we got to dig in. You got to work to fix your problems.
I mean, the big news from this is, hey, Patrick Mahomes is there, right? We know he's coming off the injury, and everybody kind of wants to know how that rehabilitation is going. He's Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby. He's going to be back.
They're getting him fired up. He's going to be ready to go. That's all there is to it.
Welcome back, NFL fans. We're all chiefed up. The #1 independent Chiefs channel on YouTube. It is Tuesday, April 21st. The draft kicks off on Thursday, so everybody's super excited about that. But we're going to talk about the Chiefs kicking off phase 1 of the offseason program, Patrick Mahomes being there, and we're going to give you a few under-the-radar my guys from the draft. That way you can look out for those cats. Mike, how we doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited. We're actually talking about the football team rather than projections of the draft, which, by the way, I'm super horned up for the draft here in a couple days.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some actual Chiefs football. And the first thing that we got to talk about today is the fact that we started phase 1 of OTAs. This is going to go from April the 20th, which was Monday, and we're going to go all the way to May 1st, the day before my birthday. I get to wrap it up with a nice little birthday gift. You know what I mean? So look, all rostered players on the Chiefs roster right now are eligible to be there, but it is voluntary. So some notable attendees today. There was a lot of leadership there. Patrick Mahomes was in the house. There were so many people there that was just willing to come in and turn this thing around. After last year's season, Steve, it looked horrendous. Like, there was so many things we did wrong. I think we lost 8 out of the last 9 games. We were out of the playoffs by Thanksgiving. We don't need to rehash that or anything. But on this phase 1, they can come in and they can do a few things. They can discuss some schemes. They can watch some film. I think Barry Rubin come in. They can do some strength and conditioning, and they can do things like that. And then with Patrick Mahomes, he got to come in today and do a little bit of rehab. But what they can't do during this phase 1, and a lot of people don't know this, but they can't do any on-field drills. So they can't wear helmets. They can't use footballs. They can't even go through plays per se. And the coaches are strictly forbidden from being on the grass, although the players can go out onto the field and run around, do what they want to do. And of course, they can't have contact. So
they can throw.
Yeah, they can throw. I didn't say they couldn't throw.
So they can have footballs.
They can't use footballs.
I said they can't. Well, you know what I mean. Like, they can't get together and make a play.
Yeah,
they
can't say.
Look at us. Hey, look at us. Look at us. Huh? Look at us. Say it again. Look at us.
Like, that's the whole point. Like, coaches aren't allowed on the field, but the guys can go out and throw. They can do what they're doing.
They can't, like, have plays fed to them. But technically, Patrick Mahomes is a coach on the field. I guess he can run some plays if he wants, right?
Right. Well, I kind of like this new perspective of what to do in phase 1 here, right? And I think it starts with Andy Reid, because today in his presser, he had that sly smile on his face, and he used the word fired up to get the guys back in the building, right? But then you start looking at this. Normally, in the past, phase 1 kind of took place with Patrick Mahomes and the receivers out in Texas. Right? You would see all that footage of them throwing together out in Texas. Well, they're taking this shit seriously this year, Mike, because last year sucked so bad. We're going to get a head start. We're in our own building, in our own house. We're all going to be here, and we're going to do this thing right here, right now. And I know Patrick Mahomes is a little bit limited because of the injury, but I mean, this is cool, man. I think this shows a focus of getting this back together, getting it back on the tracks, and continue that dynasty the way it was going to be before they went completely slapnut crazy last season.
Like you said, Mahomes has usually got them down in Texas. They're throwing. They even work with a few of the draft picks. Like, we've seen them working with a few picks.
Right, yeah.
I think they worked with Rashee Rice before he was drafted. They worked with Xavier Worthy before he was drafted. So they're usually doing that. I'm guessing Mahomes, even though he can throw, I'm guessing they're probably not putting him out there and throwing around, letting him goof around. He's probably being very strict.
He can throw, though, because we did see that Texas Tech Pro Day.
For sure. But Andy come out today, though, and I thought he said a few things that was very telling. He sounded very energized, I think, but he kept it realistic. He said, listen. He's got to start it off with listen. That's how he does it.
Listen.
He says, listen. He said, I love challenges. This one presents a little different of a challenge because of what we're coming off of. Nobody wants that shit. Fans, organization, coaches, or players, we got to dig in. You got to work to fix your problems. And he also said the coaches are going to be doing scheme evaluations in the morning and personnel evaluations in the afternoon. It's about getting back to the fundamentals of what makes us the Chiefs. Now, the cool thing about phase one is, Steve, this runs from Monday, April 20th to May 1st. Well, right smack in the middle of it is April 23rd through 25th. That's draft weekend. Yep. So they're probably, talking about, hey, look, this is our scheme. Hey, Pat, who do you think in this draft, looks good in our scheme from a wide receiver standpoint? I'm sure a lot of that's being talked about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the big news from this is, hey, Patrick Mahomes is there, right? We know he's coming off the injury, and everybody kind of wants to know how that rehabilitation is going. And the thing is all reports confirmed he was there, obviously, today. He can't do full speed drills, or he's not out there being crazy, like you said, but he is participating in meetings and lifting and stuff like that. Andy said that he's going to be cautiously optimistic about that return time for Patrick Mahomes. He, quote, said he goes to meetings and he can lift, all of that. We'll just see and play it by ear. He's doing great, but we have to be smart with this thing. Of course, everyone knows that Patrick Mahomes' personal goal is to be back 100% for game one, right? Now, how realistic is that? We don't really know. Patrick Mahomes has done crazier things. So, I mean, it is in the realm of possibility. But I think, like Andy said, you have to be smart about it. You can't put him back out there too early, risk re-injury or anything like that. I mean, I think him trying to get back in September, it makes a lot of sense because, I mean, he did the surgery with Dr. Dan Cooper in Dallas, and he said it'd be roughly 9 months. So that injury happened in mid-December. So September return kind of puts him right on the edge of that 9-month window. So it is possible. But here's the thing, man. Phase 2 kicks off in May, which includes on-field walkthroughs and things like that. I think that's when we'll get more of an idea how Patrick's doing with lateral movement and things like that. And then we can see where he's at on this timetable of getting returned to the playing football, because right now it's still kind of speculation. But I have a lot of faith in Patrick Mahomes. And if he says he's going to do something and he can do something, I don't question him really.
Yeah, you mentioned phase 2. Well, OTAs are coming up at the end of May, the beginning of June. You'll be doing full team 7-on-7s. You'll be doing 11-on-11. It's no live contact. But I think around June 1st, the end of May, you may see Patrick Mahomes start to be cleared for not just football activity, but to being able to be throwing the ball and maybe doing a lot of lateral stuff like that. So I think that is a possibility. I think first and foremost, the best thing that Andy said today is he's doing great. They do have to be smart, but he basically come out, and by what he didn't say was that there was no setbacks to this point. Patrick Mahomes has been on pace. He's going through the motions. He's working out. He's hitting it hard. Look, he's in there like this today, tomorrow, you name it, for the next 2 weeks. He's going to be doing a lot of upper body stuff. He's going to be working on ACL specific rehab with all the trainers. He's been doing this since January. It's nothing new. But the thing is now he's got a little bit of extra motivation. The team's in there. All of his friends are in there. They're all getting him pumped up, getting him going.
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby. He's going to be back.
They're getting him fired up. He's going to be ready to go. That's all there is to it. And I think he's ready to go for the draft too, man. I think he's feeling it. I think he's going to put some input in. We've talked several times. He's kind of thrown out, some names. Reggie Virgil. The Chiefs have not been too shy to go after and get people that Mahomes has put some input in on. Rashee Rice was one of those. Xavier Worthy was one of those. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, one of those. But look, Patrick Mahomes, I think a lot of people on this team have a say in the direction they're going. I think that's the culture they've built. They've all got a hand in this, and I do think this has a little bit of impact maybe going into Thursday night's draft. You may see because of these meetings some more names being brought up, or maybe some swaying in the draft rankings maybe with the team, depending on some of these guys and who they like.
Well, I think that you're going to see a little bit of the strategy that we're talking about here, where Andy Reid says we have to be careful with this thing. That doesn't just mean that, hey, Patrick has to be 110% and be able to do whatever before he can get on that football field.
Right.
I don't think that's 100%. I think a lot of it you could start seeing now, like you said, during these meetings and things like that. You already see it taking place in the offseason. They have to put measures into place to protect Patrick Mahomes coming back off that injury. And number one thing that you have to do, because they needed to be doing it anyway, probably how I got to this point of having an injury, is quit making him do every damn thing by himself. Get this offense to where it's supposed to to be. Get some road grading offensive linemen. Get you a damn running back that can see what's going on 2 feet in front of him. Let's get some home run ability with these guys. Use other players besides Patrick Mahomes to make his life easier. And I think that's the objective. They pulled Eric Bieniemy back in here. They got DeMarco Murray in here. They got Kenneth Walker III. I think that you might see them put more of a focus on offensive line than you guys think for this draft coming up. We already heard Brett Veach say, hey, offensive lineman needs to go before pick 35. That should damn well tell you right there. They might take an offensive lineman at either 929 or move up and get one, whoever it might be. But I think they have to focus on that run game to an extent. They're already doing it. They've got to tweak that offense to make it a little bit more under center, a little bit more run threat, and not just every defense knowing to come out and play a cover 2 high shell and put all the pressure on Patrick Mahomes and make him run around until he can find some magic to happen. It's got to stop.
Chiefs Kingdom, we have officially partnered with PrizePicks, America's #1 sports picks app. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy sports platform. It's distinctly separate from a traditional sports book, and it's the absolute best way to add some extra heat to every single game. The app is incredibly easy to use. You aren't playing against sharks. You're just picking more or less on an individual player projection. Think Kenneth Walker's total rushing yards per game, more or less. Travis Kelce's total touchdowns in 2026, only 4, more or less. You just pick at least 2 players, lock in your lineup, and you're in the action. PrizePicks is available in most states, including California, Texas, Florida, and right here in the heart of America, Missouri and Kansas. One thing we love is the new public feed. You can actually find and follow us directly on the app at All Chiefed Up. You'll be able to see our live lineups and tell our picks before we even post them here on the channel or our other social media platforms. So if you haven't joined yet, just download the app and use code HMA when you sign up. When you play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 in lineups instantly. Click the link in the description, use code HMA, and remember to always play responsibly. Now back to the show.
It's got to stop.
You're right. I don't think it's crazy to say Brett Veach is really considering a tackle at number 9. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I started looking around at it today, and if you keep in mind what he's saying, and he's completely right. These tackles fall off a cliff by 35. And I think there's going to be a crazy run in the first round because there's only 6 or 7 draftable tackles that are going to come in and give you immediate impact. And some of those are even projects. Max Ahanichor is kind of a project.
For sure.
Spencer Fano could be a guard. There's a lot of these players that may not even fit in the right spot. Even Maui Noah, the #1 right tackle, presumably in this draft, a lot of people are chirping about him moving into guard. So you never really know what's going to happen. But these guys are going to take a shot on him. Tackles are valuable in the NFL. They cost a lot of money. If you can get in guys and you can keep rotating good guys in. Look, I seen a chart today and it mapped out every offensive line in the NFL. And right in the center, we look pretty good. Creed was rated in the 90s. Trey Smith was rated in the high 80s. But then you start looking at the left side a little bit. And you had Kingsley, who, he turned it on a little bit. I think he's going to be better in year 3, which will be year 2 at left guard. But he was somewhere around the 60 mark. He was 1 point ahead of Josh Simmons on the left side at left tackle. So there was still some work for them to do, but I think that's more maturing. But if you looked all the way over to the right side, Steve, it was Jalen Moore. And Jalen Moore is not a starter in this league. I think we can realize that it's just not a start. He was rated a 38 or something like that. It was really bad.
Right.
We have nothing in the future. Look, I like Esapole as much as the next guy, but you cannot bank Patrick Mahomes in the future of this team for the next 10 years on Esapole.
No.
And you definitely ain't going to do it on Jawan Moore or whatever his name is, Jalen Moore. You're not going to do it. I mixed him and Jalen.
I'm glad that you brought Jawan Taylor up because I think that's a big red flag for everybody too, that they might go ahead and draft a tackle early. Because here's the thing. Jawan Taylor walks, right? And we knew that was going to happen. It was this time of his contract where it was either, hey, we restructure this to make this more team friendly because you haven't really lived up to how much you're getting paid, or it's our time to let you walk, right? Well, we let him walk, and then you saw what happened. He ended up in Atlanta on a 1-year, $5 or $6 million deal. Hell, dude, if we could pay him that, I would do it in a heartbeat to have him back. So the fact that the Chiefs didn't do something like that, and he went to Atlanta and took that kind of a deal, makes me think the Chiefs have a plan in place at that right tackle. And I think that plan in place is to draft early one of these guys that are good, because they have 2 first-round picks, and I think they're planning on getting one of those guys, man. I just think that that's all there is to it with that.
Yeah, the Chiefs are ready to move on. I think that's what it was. They're ready to move on. It wouldn't surprise me if they're not taking one at pick number 9. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't get one there. They're probably trading up from 29 to get one. And that's kind of what I had to talk myself into today. Would you rather take a guy at 9 that the Chiefs might like, say Caden Proctor, although I don't love him, but they like him. Caden Proctor at 9, or maybe Monroe Freeland. We had a vibe there. Like, we like both of them more than Fano, because we think Fano might be a guard. I just don't. There's a lot of things with
I don't
Fano.
get the warm and fuzzies with Fano.
No, look, I watched some Fano film versus David Bailey today, and David Bailey was getting his hand on him and just beating him to death. And he was extending his arm, and that's because Fano's got really short arms. They were 32 inches or something
Look,
like that.
man,
So,
I outright have Monroe Freeling and even Proctor ahead of Fano on my rankings of offensive linemen. I just do. Francis Maui Noah's up there in that top 3 with those 2. After that, I mean, it does get a little weird, man. I see what Brevich is saying.
right, and like I was just going to say, do you want to take one at 9 and get maybe one of the better guys that you get to pick from? Or when the run starts around pick 22 or 23, now you're getting maybe the last guy, and you got to trade up and give extra stuff for him. So now it gets a little weird. It almost is better to take them at 9. That way you don't have to give up the extra draft capital to go get a mid-tier guy.
I mean, without a doubt, 5 offensive linemen are going in the first round. Some people are saying 10, so I think it's safe to say probably about 8 are coming off the board.
Who's your favorite, Steve? If they take one at 9, who's your favorite?
At 9, I think I have to go Monroe Freeling.
Me too. I was going to say, I think I like Monroe Freeling, and I think Caden Proctor would actually now
He'd
be my number
second.
2.
He's my number 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I still don't love Caden Proctor. I don't get the warm and fuzzies, but
if they're at the back end of the first round and they're having to come up and get somebody, I think Max Onitscher fits in that boat. But I mean, like you said, he's still developmental. This kid hasn't played football for very long.
Blake Miller for me could be okay to come up
like Blake
for.
Miller too. I think those are 2 good targets for late in the first round, man. But I think the Chiefs are heavily focused on that run game and protecting Patrick Mahomes. And I think also you have to think they want to put weapons around Patrick Mahomes to make his life easier, not even in just a running game. So a lot of people are really put off by the idea of drafting a Kenyon Sadiq or an Eli Stowers or something like that. But I think that they have to get that in place, because we're looking at Travis Kelce playing this season and being gone. This is swan song Kelce. Okay, they have to get something in place there. Kelce has been Patrick Mahomes' security blanket for the last 8 years, 9 years, whatever. We have to get somebody to fill that role. This offense is just made to use the tight end as a weapon. That's just how it is. And I think they have to look at that. And then, of course, receiving. The receivers themselves are not the greatest in the world. They're a little bit thin. They're going to have to put some pieces in place for Patrick to make his life a little bit easier coming off that injury. That's all there is to it. I think you could look at probably some type of offensive weapon and an offensive lineman even be in your entire first round, and them not even looking at defensive end or anything like that, like you think they're going to do. Don't be surprised if they don't look at that until second round. So, I mean, it's a possibility. I think everybody thinks it's like a given that they're going to take Reuben Bain or David Bailey, and they might. That might be the plan, but don't be surprised if it's not.
Well, look, don't be surprised about anybody they draft. And I think that gets us into our next segment, Steve, which we want to look at some my guys, but we just don't want to talk about the same my guys we've been talking about. We want to take some guys that maybe are a little bit deeper in the draft. We wanted to bring out a few for you guys and bring out some names that maybe isn't getting the buzz they need to be getting. And I've actually picked 3 guys that I think fits well with the Chiefs, so it wouldn't surprise me if maybe you go there. And if you want, I'll go ahead and kick it off, man. I'll kick it off with Deion Burks, wide receiver from Oklahoma. He is my wide receiver number 18, Steve. And I believe if you look at Deion Burks, he is in the same mold as a Mekhi Lemon. He's in the same mold as a Zach Branch. I think he's like the next guy down. Now, look, I get it. Not more of the same. We don't want more of the same. We want the X. But I'm telling you right now, Deion Burks is a weapon. He is a 2-time Bruce Feldman's Freak List member. He's built like a tank. He squats 540 pounds. He is rumored to be able to bench press 400 or 450. I mean, that is insane. And he's only like 5'10", 5'11", 5'9", somewhere in that range. Like, he's a smaller guy. I want to say it's 5'10", 5'11". I don't want to get it wrong. But the thing is he's under 200 pounds. Obviously, he's about 180 to 190. That's what he's weighing in on. I think he can actually add a little bit of weight, but he's built a lot like the guys like your McCole Hardmans, your maybe Sky Moore. I know that's going to rub people the wrong way, but the Kadarius Toney, Tyreek Hill, even that's what he reminds me of. He ran a 4.3 40. He runs like a freaking gazelle. And the thing about it is he was actually mad. I watched him. He said he tripped and that he thought he could run in the 4.2s. He wanted to run 4.2s and he thought he could get it. But look, his stop-start ability, the only other guy in this draft that's got stop-start ability like Deion Burks is going to be Mekhi Lemon. Stop-start like crazy, this guy's got it. So that's why I say that. If you can't get Lemon at 9 or you don't want him at 9, this is a guy you can get maybe rounds 3, 4, somewhere in that range. I don't think he lasts much longer than that. But look, he's got a small frame. He's missed a little bit of time. But look, he's a quintessential Andy Reid gadget plus receiver. Think Xavier Worthy, a little bit more bulk. But, Reid loves space players who can win in the slot. He can get out. He can move them around. He wins on double moves. I think he'd be a nightmare in the jet motion game. I think he's would be a nice safety valve for Mahomes on crossers or things like that, especially if you're doubling up Kelsey, bracketing Kelsey, things like that. I like the pick. Deion Burks, wide receiver, Oklahoma. He's my guy there, probably around 4, round 5. Maybe he gets into round 3. Who knows?
Right. Well, I went a little bit outside of the box. This is not somebody that Kansas City's ever going to draft, but this is somebody that I think is kind of a sleeper in this draft. And he's arguably like the most intriguing lottery ticket quarterback in the 2026 class.
Ooh.
Mike, I don't know how much you've seen of Cole Payton, but this kid is a monster. He's a left-handed dual threat for North Dakota State. Spent years as a backup, but just kind of exploded in 2025. The guy's massive boomer bust pick. It's not like this is a sure thing or anything, but it's just like the physicality of this guy. He's roughly about 6'3", 232 pounds. Very old school, like a sturdy build, massive hands. He shocked a lot of people with a 4.5 40-yard dash. And for a guy his size, that's get the hell out of the way speed. When you go watch a lot of his tape, he did tend to want to run the football almost first before he would pass. And the thing about it is, you think, okay, well, this guy is just not a great passer. The guy's got a freaking cannon of an arm. Like, he can throw the ball a country mile. But the problem is, it's kind of a 3/4, almost sidearm type weird unorthodox delivery that a lot of teams are not going to like. It's very outside of the box. But just the way that this guy runs the football, as big as he is, and the way that he can throw the ball, he kind of could be like at his very, very peak, he could potentially be a Josh Allen type. That's exactly what he reminds me of. But of course, this is a kid that just starting last season, and he played at North Dakota State, which of course Josh Allen didn't play at a big, massive school either. He's at Wyoming, right? But it's like, I think that this kid definitely is something that a team might want to play with. I mean, throw a dart at it and see what happens, because all the tools are there. The strength, the size, the speed, it's all there. Maybe you can make it, come together with the right team, right scheme, and get something out of him. I think he's a pretty big sleeper though, but fun to watch.
Yeah, I actually comped him to Josh Allen meets Taysom Hill.
I could see that.
Yeah. Because I mean, you're watching Bryce Lance's little brother, and that's who's throwing him the rock. So you're like, right. Who's throwing these deep bombs out there? But yeah, it was Taysom Hill Jr.
Yeah, he's like the lefty Josh Allen, so that makes total sense that you throw Taysom Hill into the mix.
Yeah, so my number 2 guy is going to be another position of need for the Chiefs, and again, I think you've got to get a tackle early. But let's just say that the board just keeps falling the wrong way, and nobody wants to trade with us. I found a guy maybe in rounds 4 and 5, maybe. I'll say somewhere in that range. Emil Wagner, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. He is my tackle number 9. I wanted to get that right. 6'6", 306. Look, Notre Dame puts out a lot of good offensive linemen. That's all there is about it. Like, they are a good school at putting out offensive linemen. Wagner has prototypical height to play the position. He's 6'5". He's got that elite arm length that the Chiefs will look for. They don't like to draft people with short arms. 34.5 arms. He's going to be able to survive out there on the edge. Now, look, he's technically savvy. He has a basketball background. He has a track background. And you can see it in his footwork. He's got very, very smooth footwork. He doesn't lunge. He mirrors defensive ends rather well. Like, look, he's a little bit lean. He's only 306. But I think he's actually got enough of a frame that you can put some muscle on this kid. You can put another 10, 15, 20 pounds on him even. And I think getting him with somebody like Andy Heck, let Andy Heck develop somebody for once in his life. Let's please get it going. But I think he plays with a nastiness in the run game. He only got beat a few times in the pass game, and one of them was last year's film versus U of L, and Ashton Gillotte kind of gave him some problems because there was a little bit of speed. But I don't know if that maybe was a game that convinced us to take Gillotte. But the thing is look, I think he's okay. Look, Jawan Taylor's gone. He was always kind of a problem, but to me, Wagner fits like this swing tackle developmental thing. The Chiefs always prioritize length. He's got good hand usage. Those are just good strengths that the Chiefs look for, and I think Emil Wagner offers that, man. I just think he's a good candidate to bring in, could possibly, at worst, he's going to be a nice little swing tackle. He gives you NFL anchor strength, but, I mean, I think his ceiling could be like literally like a upper tier starting right tackle in this league if 2 or 3 years goes by and he's actually developed well.
For sure, man. Let's talk about a double pun right now, okay, with length, because we're on the same wavelength. Because I'm going to talk about Markel Bell. I know I've brought this guy up before.
Let's go. I love Markel Bell.
Markel Bell is one of my sleepers of this draft. Brett Veach says that you need to get one of those tackles in the top 35, and I absolutely believe that. But if you don't, this is a guy that you could take a shot on a little bit later in the draft, and he's exciting, dude. I've called him a skyscraper before because the dude's freaking massive, right? He's 6'9", 346 pounds, and you were talking about length, man. The wingspan on this dude is absolutely outrageous. A lot of the scouts are drooling over the fact he has 36 and 3/8 inch arms and an 87 and 1/8 inch wingspan. That puts him in the 98th percentile for length.
That's insane.
Complete vice grip, dude. Once he gets his hands on a defender, that rep's essentially over with. His grip strength and sheer distance that he can kind of keep rushers away from his chest are just elite. He started opposite of Francis Smiling Noah. So he was over on the other side of the line. He was a left tackle. And here's what I think about it, dude. Markel Bell didn't let up a single sack as a starting tackle in college, which is pretty wild to think about.
Protecting the blind side,
and
too.
he
That's
played
amazing.
over 1,000 snaps in 2025. He only allowed one quarterback hit the entire time, too. So for a man his size to remain that well balanced in pass protection, that's rare, actually. He's got some versatility despite his size. They actually use him on pulls and screens quite frequently, showing surprising movement for a guy that's near 350 pounds. I just think that this is a dude that you could probably get in the 4th or 5th round, and he's a bit of a project, but he's kind of compared to Orlando Brown Jr. a little bit. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be like freaked out by that, but that's not a bad thing. And I think in hindsight, maybe you guys don't think Orlando Brown was as bad as you thought he was at the time. But I think he's got the quintessential right tackle profile. So I think that's exactly what we need. But if he could get his footwork refined a little bit and get him up to par with that kind of stuff, they could absolutely use him as a swing tackle in the NFL. He's had pretty significant buzz during the pre-draft process, particularly with like the Steelers and the Patriots is what I'm seeing a lot. But they're both looking for massive anchors to rebuild their lines. We're looking for a massive anchor to potentially seal up the rest of our offensive line. We're good from left tackle, left guard, center, right guard. Right tackle's that question mark. And if you don't get one of those top 25 guys, then, hey, maybe this is your dude.
Markel Bell, the more I watch him, he kind of reminds me of like the middle round version of Caden Proctor.
Yeah.
He's big. Caden Proctor's 352, and Markel Bell's coming at 358, and he's actually got like a 6-inch longer wingspan, which is insane
massive,
because people were freaking out over Caden Proctor and all of his physical traits and this and that. So I really like Markel Bell. I think maybe people sleeping on him. I've got him as right tackle or as a tackle 14. Honestly,
dude,
I should probably get him up higher than that. What am I doing?
That's the thing with Markel Bell, just the way that he's built and the athleticism he has with that frame. Like he has massive recovery range. So even if he slightly gets beat at first, he recovers tremendously. And that's why you've seen him let up 0 sacks and 1 quarterback hit.
Right. Look, I want to move it on to the defense a little bit. I've given you 2 offensive players. I'm ready to give you a corner. And what's better than a late-round corner for Brett Veach and Spags and Dave Merritt? So I'm going late round. If you watched the episode yesterday, Monday with Broshmo, we actually drafted this kid. And I went back, watched more film. I have now moved him up to my CB18. Like, he is going ahead of some guys that you wouldn't think he's going ahead of. But Latrell McCutcheon Sr., corner from Houston, is now going up the board. He's 6'2", and he runs 4.43 speed. He is a modern NFL corner. He uses his height. He erases every catch window thrown at him. He had 9 PBUs in 2025, breakout year. He's described as Houston's locker room leader, an ultimate competitor. And the thing about it is not only does he play 70% of his snaps at Houston playing press man, which is a Spagnuolo's dream corner because he's going to play that press man. He reminds me a lot of a guy that we had here that everybody loves, L'Jarius Sneed.
Right.
He kind of has that body frame. He does what Sneed does, as in he'll come up with run support. He will lay the wood on you. He will knock you out. He does not care to hit. I love that about him. But he can also, while he's learning everything, he is a great special teams contributor. I think he can make the roster with just special teams contributions alone. He blocked several field goals this year for Houston. So he blocked multiple field goals this year. I don't think, look, he's not afraid to stick his nose in the run game. He's going to break up a lot of passes. Now, he didn't have any interceptions. He didn't get any picks. But who else couldn't get picks either? Trent McDuffie was a guy that couldn't get a pick to save his life. That's not the point. He's not allowing completions. Like, he had 9 PBUs. He's not allowing them. I think he opens his hip well in zone. I think he fits what we do with the blitz rotate schemes, the way we'll play, split safety schemes and things like that. I think he's a good pick. I got my eye on him now for like round 6, round 7. Look, he's flying under the radar. I really like this kid. If you got a minute, go watch some Latrell McCutcheon film. You're going to be happy with it. I see round 6, round 7. And look, I think he's a Spags guy. I think Dave Merritt would have a lot of fun with Latrell McCutcheon.
Absolutely, man. I want to move it on to the defense as well. And this is a position I think the Chiefs should probably address at least once in this draft. I want to talk about Caleb Elarms-Orr from TCU, Mike. This is potentially the most NFL-ready athlete among any of the sleepers that we've talked about so far. He spent some time at California, transferred to TCU, exploded onto the scene in 2025. He's probably projected late 3rd, 4th round right now. He's 6'2", 234, so he has a sturdy, prototypical frame for an NFL linebacker, but he has that freak factor, baby. He's got that Willie Gay in him. He had a 40-yard dash of a 4.47 at the combine, a vertical jump of 40 inches, which is elite for a guy his size, and a broad jump of 10.4. He put up monster numbers with the Horned Frogs, too, last season, racking up 130 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. Scouts absolutely love this kid because his film matches the analytics. In run defense, he earned an 87.8 run grade defense with PFF, which ranked 45th out of 800 qualified linebackers. Another thing, he's an absolute thumper, man. He will hit you, and he's not afraid of anything. He plays fearlessly. He's not afraid to meet a 300-pound guard burrowing through a hole like on a pool. He don't give a crap. He'll take them head up. And because of his speed, he also can kind of be a pattern match coverage linebacker. He's got a lot of lateral range. He can get from sideline to sideline, much like Willie Gay used to be able to do. And he can get this, close some passing windows that other linebackers simply can't get to because of his speed and his athleticism. I think late round 3, round 4, I think he could potentially go higher if a team falls in love with his combine numbers and everything. I know Dallas is linked to him, Seattle's linked to him, but this is something that the Chiefs could be looking at too, because I think they need to fill a hole at linebacker, and I think they'll be looking for at least one in this draft. I mean, he's kind of just that, not to be cliche, but he's kind of that defensive Swiss Army knife. You can use him in a lot of different ways. He has the speed of a safety. He has a hitting power of an old school linebacker. If for the Chiefs, they value versatility in their sub packages and stuff like that. So I think he could be an interesting day 2 target for them. And I think he's a lot of fun to watch. So go watch his tape if you haven't.
This is a very good linebacker class. Very good linebacker class. Elam's-Orr is my linebacker 9, and I honestly think he could be linebacker 8. I really had a tough time with him and Bruce Bochy from Oregon. But, dude, you mentioned Willie Gay. Willie Gay Jr. was my comp for him. He is all over the field. if you're like an Anthony Hill guy, like out of Texas, 6'2", 239, like that blitzing will linebacker, and you can't get Anthony Hill in like round 2, early round 3, Caleb Elamzor is a guy you could maybe pick up in round 3, round 4. I actually have him, Steve, in my top 100 rankings. I actually put Elamzor up today. I readjusted him. He's my number 90th player in this entire draft.
Yeah, he's a fun one. He's a fun one. He's a beast. Guys, we appreciate you all being here. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to give us a 5-star review. Write some kind words down at the bottom. If you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button for us. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hell, even join the ACU crew. Go to join.allchiefedup.com. Become a part of that. We appreciate you guys. This draft is almost here. It's almost over, guys. Hang in there. It's going to be a fun weekend because we're going to do the entire draft live. So be on the lookout for that, baby. It's going to be a fun time. We'll see you there. Go Chiefs.